Today I'm joined by my mother, Jayne, the inspiration for Jayne's Robe. Good morning, Mom.
Hi, Galen.
Tell me about the day you were diagnosed with cancer.
Well, I had been getting mammograms starting in my 50s, and I'd had one, and then for whatever reason I'd skipped a year. So this would have been my second mammogram when they called and they said there was something strange, funny on the mammogram, and could I come in, and then they did an ultrasound, and then I ended up having to have a biopsy. And I was actually up in Alaska with my mother visiting my younger brother when the phone call came, and I'll never forget the phone call saying that it was breast cancer, and I was just totally in shock.
Tell me about your treatment.
I went to a surgeon and he did a lumpectomy. He was just a local surgeon, and when he called me he said, I didn't get it all. You need to have a mastectomy. And I thought, I was still in shock that I even had breast cancer, so I thought, oh, I don't think so. And so I made an appointment with, turned out to be a very famous breast cancer surgeon at the Cleveland Clinic, and I went to see him, and he said, no, I think we can get it all, but we need to wait a certain amount of time because sometimes the body will spontaneously remove the tumor if you wait long enough. So we waited like 8 weeks. And then he did a second lumpectomy and got it all. And then I had, I think, about 36 treatments of radiation after that.
So, Mom, that was in 2002, and in 2016, our cousin, your niece, Melissa, was diagnosed with breast cancer. How did her diagnosis impact you?
Again, I was shocked, just totally shocked, because she's so young. She was in her 40s. I was in at least my 50s, and that's when I really started to focus on the link, the family history, and that's when I remembered that my cousin in her 30s had a double mastectomy. So my initial reaction was just shock, actually shock. And then I think that was when I texted you, and I was thinking back to the little Kimona and knowing that she was going to have to go through treatment. At that point, just radiation, I was thinking, and thought, gee, and by then you were down in Florida working for White House, and so I thought, well, maybe that would be a good time for you to design something.
And from that text, I was inspired then to make a robe for Melissa.
Yeah.
And then I sent the robe to Melissa, and through Melissa messaging me back, I wore this robe, and this made me feel protected from all the negative energy of chemo, and that's when we both knew it was time to do something more, time to give the robes to other women.
Right.
Mom, how did giving the robe to Melissa impact your view of women with cancer?
Well, when I saw how it made her feel and how beautiful she looked in it, I think we both realized that it was something that could reach beyond Melissa.
There's a quote from 2 Timothy 1:7, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, and of love, and of a sound mind." What does this scripture mean to you?
Well, that's one of my favorite Bible verses, because when you get a cancer diagnosis, the first thing that always happens is fear, total fear. But you have to realize that there's a power greater than yourself that will get you through it, and that you can call on that power and strength for whatever ordeal lies ahead, whether it's a mastectomy or chemo or radiation or even death, that you can get through it with a sound mind. The sound mind part is important because you have to make so many decisions when you're going through cancer treatment. You have to be your own researcher. And so the fear will blind you. You won't be able to get clarity about what you should do and how you should proceed. So that's why I love that scripture.
Mom, how has the experience with Jayne's Robe been for you?
Well, it's just been an amazing journey because it started with our love for Melissa and our desire to support her as a family and hold her up through this process, and then to see it spread out to so many other women, the women that whose lives were touched by it, is just an amazing journey to see that little spark spread really across the country. Now there are people, and maybe even worldwide, I'm not sure, but to see the love and the support go hand in hand. It's not just a robe, it's not just the beauty, but it's the love and the strength and the power of the family that goes with it as well.
And that we've been able to give the same gift we gave to Melissa to other women now, and we've been able to touch other women's lives at their time of treatment and in their journey of cancer with the robe, and we've been able to give and donate.
Yes, and Melissa is my blood relative, but when you're in cancer treatment, especially breast cancer, you're sisters in that journey. So you are family.
Mom, what have you learned from surviving breast cancer?
I have learned that I'm stronger than I think that I ever thought I could be. And I also learned that something that comes into your life that looks like the worst possible thing in the world, that in the midst of that, there are gifts that come. And the gift that we have received is the gift of Jayne's robe, the creative power that you unleashed with that.
Mom, if you could share anything with a newly diagnosed woman with breast cancer, what would you tell her?
I would tell her to be brave and be strong, but I would also tell her not to be afraid to challenge the doctors, not to be afraid to do your own research and chart your own journey. But most of all, I would tell her that to take it one day at a time, one step at a time, 1 hour at a time, and try not to be anxious and try not to worry.
Thank you for being here today, Mom, and for sharing your story, and thank you for inspiring Jayne's Robe.
Galen, thank you for the blessing that you've been in my life and for your creativity and your joy and your willingness to put yourself out there and take a risk and just step out and do Jayne's Robe, and knowing that you're not going to really get a reward, that it's not about you, and because of your deep spirituality, you knew that this was a way to give back to the world, and I can't even tell you how proud I am of you and how much I love you.